It wasn't. I feel like I waited so long for this moment, for the movie to come out, and then it came, and it was like I'm glad I was there to witness that. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to just shit on it, because it means I've been here a long time. The first movie came out in '95, bro. It's 2021, and I'm still mad at these motherfuckers.
They still haven't pleased you.
Like, what is it gonna take? I feel like a really annoyed wife, like that's been telling her husband for years, like, "Yo, I need you to change this. I care about you, but I need you to give me what I need," and just disappointment is followed. Yeah.
So welcome to another episode of VGXL, episode 23. I'm your host Daniel, aka Games. Got Adocat and El Torrente, or Coda and Jose, and joining us is our old friend Mario, aka Mario.
Mario.
What's going on, man? Welcome to the podcast. How you feel?
I feel good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Excited to come on, talk about some things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. He came. One thing I will say, Mario came prepared. We're all here wearing our best gear. You know what I mean? We're here wearing our best fashion.
I'm sorry, this is my pajamas, bro.
You get to catch Mario in his pajamas. Sleeps in the bucket hat.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit.
But yeah, who are you? What are you doing here? How do we know you? How does anybody know you?
Shit, that's a very intricate story right there. But yeah, Mario Benitez. Right now, I'm like a fake stand-up comic and shit. But I'm doing it. And yeah, that's it, man. I know you guys fucking too long. Shit, since I was a fucking child,
So, yeah, because I know over the history, I know you guys call each other cousins, but what's the real story? I don't think I've ever got a deep dive. Just your parents knew each other, or
we're cousins, man.
By who? How? Who married?
That's all it takes, blood.
That's it.
Blood in,
That's
blood
all
out.
it takes. Blood. You never see blood in, blood out. Let's talk about some music.
Blood in, blood out, cat.
Yeah, you know how it is. Yeah, man.
Yeah, this
we've all known each other for a long. Like, I met Daniel in junior high, and we've had a few people from the past on this show so far. We had Lou Rock, we've had Ezra, we've had Marvin, and we've had Mike Tino. You know what I'm saying? So I like the flow of that. Mario and me have a lot of history together, coming up playing games together. So it was just appropriate that we kind of join forces on one of these at some point, because we've been doing this shit to ourselves for ages anyway. Like, these discussions that we have on this podcast, we've been having these for years, in carpools and random nights at home, just fucking kicking it.
The elephant sprinklers.
Yeah, exactly. In the middle of eating an Italian bacon cheeseburger. Okay, for any listeners who aren't in the New York City area, that is pretty much a chopped cheese on a hero with fries and bacon stuffed inside.
That's exactly what it is.
You know what I'm saying? You can't go wrong. It was $4 with a soda. So.
Oh yeah, I always think about that back in in the days of Kennedy's Fried Chicken, where like you get a cheeseburger freaking deluxe for $3 with a soda. That shit.
Yeah, and a train fare home.
Right.
And they throw in 2 tokens.
And we're back.
But since those days.
We're back. We're in that phase that our parents were like, where they would be like, yo, for 5 cents, I used to buy bread, milk, eggs, butter, and cheese. And still have change for candy. Now it's like $5 is that now. It's like, I could get a cheeseburger, fries, soda, candy, and still get on the bus.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you remember there was a ritual? Like, if you had $1.50 and you walked a few blocks to, like, if you walked from where we went to school on 96th Street and you walked a few blocks to 103rd, 104th and Broadway, Mama's Pizza, it was $1.50 for a decent sized slice, not this dollar pizza cheesy cheap shit. I'm talking this shit tasted like a $3 pizza back then. It was good quality, delicious, with a can of soda for $1.50. Oh
Yeah.
my god! Listen, you know
Bro,
how many times this?
you ever see those like 99-cent pizza spots now? Those shits are made out of fucking mouse pads, bro. You just don't gotta
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. Look, you see this coaster?
You can't be selling pizza for $1
That
these
shit
days.
is this. This is a personal pan pizza, right? It's a fucking coaster
With sauce and cheese.
with tomato sauce in it. They just warm it up.
It was an interesting week. Well, so kind of discussing a little bit in the beginning of the recording. Freaking Mortal Kombat came out. I know, we're all looking forward to it. We're talking about it if you listen to past podcasts, but yeah, I wasn't too happy. Now let me no, you know what? Fuck that. What who wants to start? Jose? You want to give us some thoughts?
I'm not too much of a fan. Let me start there.
Do you want to start then?
No, I'll start. I got check it. So, I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast quite a bit, and we're all fans. I had a band named Fatality with this gentleman here who's on the podcast today, Mario. He was my singer.
I were in the band,
and yeah, so basically, this movie comes out. Huge fan. I was a huge fan of the casting. I think let me start by saying that I think casting wise, it was a good job, right?
Yeah.
People looked the way they should. People felt, now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start by saying that this movie suffered from delivering a complicated, convoluted story poorly, as opposed to the 95 version that delivered a basic story and they nailed it. You know what I mean? People like to make fun of that movie, and it's bizarre to me because ever since I saw Mortal Kombat 1, I was in the theaters for that, right? In 95, that was like Avengers Endgame type shit. When like Liu Kang fought Reptile, like when Reptile popped out of nowhere, like when Scorpion and fucking Johnny Cage square off in the forest and end up in hell, that whole shit was madness.
Yeah.
Like just for those moments alone, they followed a very direct story. It's a tournament. You're on Shang Tsung's island. He doesn't fuck around. You've known that guy for a long time if you watch B-rated, kung fu flicks in like crime films that are like centered in Koreatown and Chinatown. He's like portrayed every type of like Asian gangster, Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa. That's his like resume. So the second they casted him, it was like, this shit's gonna be awesome because he knows how to be a dickhead on screen, right? The first movie just handled everything more. Like they handled everything better, and we'll get into the particulars of why that is. But again, everybody was casted well. It feels like anything from the beginning of the movie and the ending of the movie just feel like separate things.
Yeah.
And the middle is just a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? I don't want to go on a long, tirade. You guys could jump in. Anybody have anything to add to what I'm saying now? Just so before we get into the real craziness,
to the meat of it. I don't know, man. I loved it. The direction, the action, the cinematography, the score, everything really spoke to me on a deep level. No, it was pretty garbage. I was pretty disappointed. Like you said, the beginning and the ending were pretty fired because they were completely different than the rest of it. It was like a sandwich between like two pieces of gold, was just like this turd. It was really weird, and it felt like it didn't have to be. It was
right. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it was weird.
I think you know what that comes from, and I think is something that happens in a lot of films, right? And I think it's the whole like every time I think about it's the production side, people with the money and shit kind of like rushing along ideas, and like and you see it in every other like movie too. It's like DC has that problem, right? They want to rush along, but if they just made a good project and took it slow, people are gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And with those characters, if it's a good product and if it's a slither of the story arc in a good film, you're gonna love it.
Right.
And it could be about one small event, And it's
and like we were saying, like it was bad and it didn't have to be. And that's the biggest problem I have with a lot of game movies. It's like they're bad because it feels like when they're developing, it's like they want to, panded to the general crowd, which I get. Like you need a movie to sell to everybody, because when it's too focused on the fans, then you're gonna have people lost. Which, you know, I understand. Which they did kind of do some of that here, you know, whatever. But it's like they could have literally looked at the '95 movie as a base, you know what I mean, and say, how can we make this a better movie? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people really enjoyed that movie. Yeah, it has its cheesy moments, and you know, it's aged a bit, but it still holds up in my opinion as a video game movie. If we're gonna use the whole like don't expect much because it's a game movie, then it did a much better job than a lot of other movies. And
absolutely,
from just the simple storyline, the little like calls to the game, you know, fit well, and they weren't overly done. Obviously, you know, anything could always be better, but yeah, like you left out of that movie feeling good. Like you know, this movie was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like Mario said, just because he mentioned DC, and I feel like, because I was thinking the same thing as I was watching. I was like, I feel like they hired the editors for every DC movie that's been made because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Slapping things together like the Justice League, like the editing is just terrible.
Yeah. You know what? It's like one of those things where I get it. This is like the first outing they've had in a long time, and I am pretty confident that the movie's gonna do decent enough, or has done decent enough already, that it will get a sequel. And in my opinion, you could have a situation like an X-Men versus an X2, where X2 was significantly better than Part 1 because they saw the stupid mistakes they made and said, you know what, let's go that direction. You know what I'm saying? You know who was writing that? Ironically, ties right into this fucking podcast and something we talk about a lot. David Hayter.
Yeah.
He wrote those movies. You know, the voice of Solid Snake is responsible for writing these X-Men movies. So he saw, you know, this shit didn't really make too much sense. They underutilized the shit out of Rogue and everything, you know, but you know what? If we're gonna introduce a new character into the X-Men universe and show him on screen, let's do one that's gonna look visually cool and is gonna do something that's gonna make everybody stand up. And that opening scene, this is before the age of fucking spoilers, were like in your face in seconds, right? I walked into that theater and I remember seeing Nightcrawler whoop the entire White House's ass and being hype as fuck.
That shit made me clap, Papa.
Yeah, and that movie got multiple moments like that. That movie has Pyro fucking with the cops and setting shit on fire. That shit has Wolverine destroying soldiers and stabbing dudes in the head. Like, that was the first time they pushed the envelope a little bit, where it felt like this could be rated R if they had blood. You know, they've been trying to fuck with that idea of Wolverine being vicious, you know? It had a lot of good moments, that movie. I feel like on Mortal Kombat 2, the movie has potential with a better budget and with smarter storytelling. They could definitely go that route. And this is where I feel it's good. You know, we'll warn the people just in case anybody hasn't fucking seen it.
Oh, yeah, I should have said that.
We're headed to major spoiler territory. If you don't want this movie to be completely destroyed, do not listen beyond this point because we're about to fuck it up. All right? Let's talk about what the movie did right. All right? Anybody want to take this, or should I start? What do you feel?
I can say that first 20 minutes was really good, establishing
absolutely
Sub-Zero as an antagonist. It was like it made me feel like, oh, this shit is actually gonna be fire.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They hit the nail on the head in terms of tone. The first, I went back and I watched the movie again just because it's free. I could do that on HBO Max, right? I watched the movie a few more times and it kind of grew on me in the sense of like the cheesiness, the cheesy factor of it, but there's still things I'm just never going to accept, right? Like the whole rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, which has been noted to start in feudal Japan. This starts with the MK Legacy series. I mean, the games always told you about a rivalry, right? Mm-hmm. But we didn't get a real good look at this rivalry until Kevin Tancharoen did the MK Legacy series, and he did like a realistic kind of raw take on Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. And same thing, it was heavily Japanese. Like, they didn't talk anything but Japanese in it. And you know, that's the first time that you have the invasion, like the Shiraryu being invaded by the Lin Kuei, and Sub-Zero's people come and they fucking kill the the Shogun. They kill the whole village. They kill his kid, his wife, and then him and Scorpion show down, and he kills Scorpion. But then
the animated one, right?
And in the animated one, they did a great job showing that.
They have that scene.
You feel like there's some beef there. This shit, even in what they did right, I had a problem because the Shirai Ryu is supposed to be like a clan. They're full of like the greatest ninjas on earth. They would never be caught off guard like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they caught my man super lacking. You know what I mean? Like they killed, and then they caught him so lovely. He was out in the mountains like picking up water, and Sub-Zero came, fucking destroyed his clan and killed his, like, just froze his wife and kid. Right now, that's something that a rivalry, you can see that the rivalry, they're starting it off right. But even the way like Sub-Zero took out Scorpion, you're not gonna make me believe that's the greatest assassin in the world.
Yeah.
He got stabbed with his own weapon in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was disappointed how little of a fight they had like in the beginning, because I was like, wait, that quick and he's finished?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, like those are the things about the movie that kind of left me like, if this motherfucker is the greatest assassin in the world of Mortal Kombat, then Sub-Zero's just God, bro. Like, make him the boss. Fuck Shang Tsung. He'll slap the shit out of Shang Tsung because he took out Scorpion like nothing. And again, that's me being a little nitpicky because that kind of shit is just, I don't see it happening. I would have preferred like a longer scene and maybe a little more development between those two. But overall, they did a great job of establishing Sub-Zero as a force. Like when he came around, it's snowing and he's fucking destroying cars and doesn't give a fuck about nobody. Anything involving Sub-Zero in the real world where nobody knows what the fuck's going on was perfect to me. I could have seen the whole movie could have been like that. You could have made that shit Michael Myers with Sub-Zero and I would have been all about it. Because they essentially turned him into that. They even had a little jump scare scene later on in the movie where like he's in front of the door and he wasn't there just a second ago.
Yeah.
And the door opens by itself and shit. Like, I see what they were going for, but that was cool. But it quickly goes wrong, man. Once it hits like the 35-minute mark and you get tired of Kano's jokes, it gets real weak.
Yeah.
That was the best part. What are you talking about, man?
I mean, what I mean is that he's like he had a small cluster there. He was back-to-back funny. And you just want that to last, but everybody has like these little segments in the movie. It feels like everything was real montage-y.
Yeah, and I don't know. The main character now he's actually in the lore, right, Cole? He's from like the books or something, or is that? Do you know anything about that?
Nah.
Yo, my man is trash, by the way. My man's power was getting a dashiki. Like, fuck.
Yeah, like
like I was saying before, Pfeffer had the only joke. She kept calling him she was like, if this was 95, that'd be Keanu Reeves. And then when he gets baton, she's like, what is he like, police brutality, like as a fucking power? And I'm just like,
yeah, like it was it was really random. What they needed to do, they did shit. We're just gonna be all over the place. I'm not trying to like review this movie in linear fucking acts because I'm just, like, they did some really dumb shit. Instead of making him where his lineage is, he is Shirai Ryu by blood, which is rare as fuck because that whole line of people is thought to be dead, right? He is Shirai Ryu. He has that blood in him. Instead of giving him a fucking a cashmere sweater, they gave him a fucking sweater. Yeah, they gave this motherfucker a kuji to fight in, and it's like a Black Panther suit pretty much. Like it absorbs energy and he can redistribute it when he hits them back.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay, they could have just made it that
bad job.
He gets the same powers as Scorpion. Like, make it that he's give him that spear and just made him fight with that.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, because I was saying that because that's what I thought was almost gonna happen, because you see a little scorpion on his, if you look closely at his thing, he has a scorpion there. So I thought, oh shit, is he gonna become like you know what I'm saying? Like, I think because again, movies take liberties. So if you're gonna take liberties and go off the rails and go and change it up or whatnot, why not just make it like that he somehow channels Scorpion into him or some shit and becomes the new Scorpion? Like,
lineage. It's passed down through the
exactly.
bloodline.
Like it would have made sense because another problem I had. Sorry, what was that?
No, that's just the weapon for the clan. So that's that's what we use mainly. So you're the descendant, you would get that weapon, not a fucking random shirt.
Exactly. And what I was gonna say was that another problem I have, a big problem I have with the movie is all the people they killed in the movie. Too many people die. If this is a prequel, because that's what everyone's saying. I had somebody on Facebook was like, "Oh, this is not just a Mortal Kombat. This is a prequel trying to defend." I'm like, whatever.
Listen,
like, fuck that.
yeah.
But the fact, if it is that, why not just have like again, he could have been Scorpion. You could have had them face off a little bit more. A little bit, maybe take a few people down, but then leave that for the fucking tournament, kill everybody in the tournament, because it's like now it's not a prequel, it's just a sequel to the first movie. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, like,
well, spoiler alert. Doesn't he like undo that at the end, Shang Tsung? He kind of undoes that.
He says death is a portal. So basically, like in the game, they're coming up with an explanation as to why every time you kill somebody in Mortal Kombat, they're back in the next game.
So that's why he's saying that they're gonna come back.
Yeah, you see them disappearing. They'll be back. But the problem I have with this whole thing in general, right, is you showed all that shit in the trailer.
Yeah.
You showed me a Red Band trailer, and this is the fucking problem that these producers, and I feel bad. I'm gonna be completely honest. I spoke to people who have acted in that movie. Spoke to them on Instagram. I've shown you guys the screenshots and stuff of me just engaging in cool conversation. These people put a lot of work into this movie, and I could totally respect it because they did some shit that hasn't, like, they aced how everything's supposed to look, except for Rico and Reptile. We'll get to that later.
Yeah,
but
not everything.
Yeah, but they did a good job at nailing, the lore, and there was a lot of cool little nods there that make me see like these people are really fans of the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, they tried. Like,
right.
Yeah, it could have been worse.
It's not the end of the road. Like, they have a good opportunity to come back from this. And when I said earlier that they suffered from a convoluted storyline, this shit was most definitely a prequel, but they never gave you that impression.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
So you go into this movie thinking you're gonna see a Mortal Kombat movie, right? And then you realize that this is Shang Tsung just trying to kill everybody off before a tournament even happens so that they win by default. So he's treating this shit like a basketball game. Like, oh, we'll bust his knee, that all their star players out. They're not gonna put the whole bench down. Like, fuck that. Then the tournament's off and we win. That's how he's thinking in this movie. I could respect it. He even says it like, when we didn't get how far we got by not cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been winning these tournaments by doing this type of shit for years, right? Now I could respect where they were going with that, but my thing is that you're giving us a movie we didn't care about, bro. Like, we don't care about a prequel to this movie. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, and it's so weird because it's like, all right, because like all the details you guys are mentioning, because they did do that. My issue with the movie is how different it seems in different parts. Because you're right, they did a really good job with a lot of the detail. But it's like, all right, so you have all this detail, you have all these Easter eggs, all these little things. So then why are we telling this shitty story if you're making a movie for everybody who knows the story?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. Like, the whole if you were gonna write Cole Young into the story, I'm sorry, it just made no sense the way they were giving me the impression that they were bringing him into the story. I was kind of getting on board with it. Like, okay, I could see why it may be necessary. But essentially what they ended up doing is giving us the feeling we got in Annihilation when there were way too many characters that didn't get any light. But we're getting that with key players. Like, they turned Liu Kang into like a weird kook, bro. Like, he's just strange in that movie. He's not like a wise, fierce warrior. He's more of like you are seeking out Raiden. Like, he comes off like a fucking conspiracy nut. Like, he has crazy eyes and like he's always flicking his fucking his pants and shit. Like, he's overactive. If that it's weird. Like, I've never seen that shit.
You know what's funny? I think there's so there's a couple of things that happen with this film, right? So one, I somehow think it's like sometimes a director or the artist reflects their audience in thought, right? And kind of like how they process a piece of art. Meaning, like, I keep hearing from a lot of people, like, what do you expect? It's a video game movie.
Right.
And that was the same justifications with old comic book movies, you know, before the Dark Knight came about and turned it into this, it could be a Academy Award winning film, right?
Right.
You know, when you take that approach, and like funny with a Mortal Kombat movie, it's like we're getting the arcade mode instead of the story mode we want.
Right.
Yeah, we want the story mode. We don't want to just see everybody go down the tier.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was
more like a problem of taking like real time. How much more happier we would have all been if, say, the movie began right at the ending of the last tournament, the 9th one, right? And now it's in the 2 villages, the Lin Kuei, Shira Ryu, and the whole movie is about building that up into finding your first 2 champions that fight on each side. It would have been chill if the action was great and if it was just about them. If there was just only maybe Raiden, Shang Tsung, Quan Chi, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and maybe like a Frost.
I would have
the younger Sub-Zero brother. You would have been happy. You would have not had. You would not give a fuck.
And then even if you didn't understand the story because you're a general audience fan, another thing that we've all talked about is all the cuts in the fighting and all the unused talent. So it's like you could have taken that talent and filled in the action for the people who don't really care about this. Like, what the hell? This is Mortal Kombat. But they would have walked out like, them fights were fire. You know what I mean? Like that. Because I was saying that too. Like, let's pretend the story, like you said, like it's arcade mode. Let's pretend it was arcade mode. If it would have just been like, oh, we're going to be in this tournament and literally would just been like 2 hours of fights, they would have been fire ass fights. It would have been a better movie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look, in the raid, why not just make it the raid?
That's exactly what I was saying. I've been saying this shit for years. I've been saying this shit for years. We don't care about anything other than that. Like, the raid has nailed every movie should just be that when it comes to combat, because we have, like, American cinema has managed to make every form of fighting except for boxing look like fucking shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's once in a while a cool movie that comes out. It's like, oh yeah, that looks all right. But we don't, like, come on, man. It's not like it was before. You know what I mean? Like, they could have easily, capitalized on that. They had one of the guys from the raid in the movie, and they could have easily, I would have had it where everything just looked exactly like that. Like, if you take raid people or raid fights and you put costumes on them, that's what I want to see, because that, even the fighting in that Mortal Kombat movie it didn't feel brutal to me. It didn't feel, and people were saying that was like, the standout parts of the film. And I'm like, maybe people are just watching really shitty action films, because those movies, I'm not trying to shit on this movie. I wanted this movie to be great, but I'm being real. Like, that wasn't what it was. Like, it wasn't.
I think it was the fatalities at the end of the fight, so that like caught people, and then it was big, it was gory, so that people are just
and then
fire fight, but it was like
then even that was just like, they made like, I'm gonna get into more particular shit. Like, let's go into the fight with Rico and Jax, or fuck that. Let's talk about how people get their powers in Mortal Kombat.
I was just gonna say that. Why did it turn into Bleach? Why are motherfuckers going under like stress tests to unlock powers?
Listen, that kind of shit is
metal arms. What the? Sorry.
He grew metal arms. How could you expect? You know how you fix that? You know how you fix that? Let me tell you how you could have fixed that in 2 minutes without looking like a fucking moron, right? All you had to do was, Liu Kang knows that these are Earthrealm warriors, right? So he's been keeping track of all these people. He went to go get Jax. He said that. By the time I got to Jax, it was too late. So all he had to do is say, you're a partner of Jax, right? And she says, yeah. And he goes, come with me. He shows her, because she just kind of walks off and finds Jax there, not knowing he was there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's halfway across the fucking earth. She jumped out of a plane to get there, and she didn't even know Jax was there. She just walks off, finds him, right? All they had to do is fix that by him saying, come with me. She sees him, and she's like crying or whatever, the same scene. And he's like, we've utilized every realm to help him. We're trying to see what we could do. Instead of having these fucking monks that apparently went to MIT, because even they had like little pieces of steel and shit, and like teacups and they made him bionic arms. That shit's way advanced even for like us right now.
Right?
Like he had like pins and needles in his arms, and he had the fucking, you know, that's impossible.
I was thinking like they took a page out of like Deadpool or some shit. You know, he's growing his arms back and shit. That's what it felt like. But building on what you said, I was thinking, okay, if you're gonna keep it cheesy, because I feel like anything I come up with would be cliche, and it still would have been better than that. Because if you're gonna do the whole like under stress bullshit to give them their powers, then the Jax fight could have been a little bit later, and it could have still been Sub-Zero or whatever. But like you said, maybe Sonya was there. Like they would have said, "Oh, you know, Jax, come with me," while they're going. Then seeing him fight or whatever, destroy his arms. Then he could have, because when he grew his arms, she was under that rock, right? So it's like that scene could have been where, like it could have started with that, like his, or his arms getting broken off, him being out of it, seeing Sonya freaking under rock, and then whatever flash, and he grew his metal arms back or something. It still would have been corny, but it would have been better than having.
There's no saving that.
Yeah, listen, no, this is how you save it. I'm gonna tell you how you save it, because I was still like, look, all you have to do is she sees that and she says, I have to take him somewhere. Like, she's urgent. She has ties to special forces. You know that. All she has to do is say, I need to get him somewhere. Is there any way I can make it back to our labs? Throw that, because she's Sonya. Or even Raiden
could have teleported them like he was doing anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like she could have just been like, we might be able to help him. She takes Raiden teleports her, and that off screen she took him somewhere, and the next scene is him getting bionic arms fitted onto him, and they're like, these are prototype, they have potential to fail, but at least you won't be defenseless. They show you that for like 2 minutes. Perfect explanation. And you could have also had Kano made a joke like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm over here, all I have is a knife that you stabbed me with. My face almost got ripped off by that lizard thing, and I ripped his heart out and I don't get shit. Like, you got to give me something too. And she's like, come with me, because at this point they're not like sworn enemies or whatever. And she gets him the laser eye also, and he just makes a joke out of it. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? When I can see through walls? Like, like kind of throw that in there as comic relief, but you make it that Sonya is responsible for getting Jax's arms and Kano his eye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to see people unleashing powers, bro. That shit is super corny.
Yeah, and
it's super corny.
Like a million times. Literally,
he grew metal arms. That's fucking stupid. That shit is when the movie I completely fucking checked out. Like, you're not gonna sit here and then they didn't even, like, you heard most of it, and then like he's like lifting her up, like come on with this. You already did that once with Cole, where he got his fucking sweater vest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did
talk about how embarrassing it is to have Goro lose to the Dashiki man. Like, yeah.
In 2 seconds.
Why have Goro in that?
And he didn't lose. He got fucked up.
Yeah,
he murdered Goro.
They said Goro was a lot of money, right?
Bro.
Like, why even put him in there to lose to this bum?
The whole movie could have been the same without Goro, because Goro could have. Well, I guess he's gonna come back at this point, but they could have just not put him in the movie. It would have been the same.
He had no. Listen, you want to know who you could have taken out that movie, and it would have made no fucking difference? Goro.
All of them.
Reptile.
Yep.
Natara.
She came in like Mortal Kombat Deception. Like, that's fucking. That's 2000s Mortal Kombat. Why the fuck was she in this movie?
Yeah, I was confused.
I wish I could something feeling her. Oh, look at my queen with the little back
beauty. Like, yo, calm down. Why are you trying to fuck this vampire, bro?
And why do they do that to Reptile? Why do they just insist on fucking him up?
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. It's like, again, if they would have just that's the hottest scene in by far in the original Mortal Kombat.
That is the hottest scene in video game movies.
Exactly. The second he throws him down, and it didn't make sense, but you still hear the announcer go, Reptile. It still worked. And hearing an announcer didn't make any sense, but it worked so well, because it's like, yo, when that fucking part happened, that music comes on.
Listen, this movie had zero of that.
Exactly. There was no part of the movie that I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
that's a shame, because that's what people you needed. Like, as if you're gonna, the first thing you want to think to yourself, if you're Simon McCoy, who directed this film, you want to think I need to give these people a moment like that. You showed everything in that trailer, Pops. That's fucking retarded. And you know why? Excuse my language, but that's ridiculous. You know why? It's because of the fact that first of all, a lot of these directors are hip to the idea that when you're shooting a movie, you want to shoot at least 6-7 crazy scenes that may not be too expensive, that look good for the trailer, because you know that those are just picked for the trailer and it does nothing to reveal anything in the story. That's why fucking Endgame and Infinity War had scenes in the movie that never happened. In the trailer, you saw scenes that literally never took place because they wanted to give you an idea of like, yeah, this is gonna be another one of those Avengers movies where these guys get together and run and they're in unison and they're gonna fight this threat. No, they all get bodied separately and my man wins and he goes off for 5 years. He's chilling. They did that effectively, and there were plenty of scenes in those trailers that give nothing away. Mortal Kombat, they didn't have a budget enough to do that. So all their major scenes, you have no way of getting people in the theater if you're not showing something that is going to draw people in, and that just happens to be every fucking big scene that makes the movie significant. You know what I mean?
Have some like B-roll though. They could have like B-roll footage of like some fights that they could have strung together. You know, like a second editing team. All right, you put some whatever.
It's just like you use the idea that you're gonna give me a Red Band trailer, and then have listen, the Red Band trailer that came out shows Jax about to smash Rico's head. It shows Kano rip out Reptile's heart straight up. Shows.
Oh, it did.
It shows Sonya blasting Mileena and killing her.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it shows these things.
I thought that was like the coolest part.
No, this shit is literally in the very first trailer that ever came out for this movie. They show all of that. The only death that you didn't see on camera in the trailer was Goro, Natara, and Sub-Zero himself. Because they even showed you Cabal's. You see Cabal on his knees with his hands up, and the fire dragon's about to eat him. Like everybody,
I remember.
Everybody knew what was gonna happen in this movie. Yeah. And it's like, I watched it. I remember seeing Sonya get blasted, and Mileena getting blasted by Sonya, and being like, "Yo."
There's another one. I didn't like the way she got her powers. Like she was just off screen, all of a sudden just has the rings, and I'm like, you could have done that again. You could have done that so much better. It could again, if you're gonna be cheesy, then she could have been, almost dying or some shit, and fucking did the kiss of death as showing she got her powers. Like, why not show her fatality? I don't know. I just thought that it was just
fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, they fucked up big time by doing this whole this is how you get your power shit. All they needed to do is have Raiden give them a pep talk and be like, listen, this is no longer Earth. This is no longer the world you know. There's a lot of forces that are making their way into our world, in your world, and there's going to be a lot of things that you can do and that you see that don't make sense. You got to take the Matrix approach. That's what he did in the Matrix. He tells him, like, yeah, this is all fake. Like, you're going to be able to do X, Y, Z. And by the end of the movie, he's that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to take that approach with things like this. Like, the unexplained makes way more sense than this bullshit you're giving me. That's why nobody complained about Reptile being thrown into a weird, like, statue, and like whatever was in that statue was grabbing at him and pulling him, and by the forces of evil, it just created this humanoid that wanted to fuck his shit up.
Exactly.
And we were cool with it because we're like, we don't know where this motherfucker came from anyway. Like, we're like 8-9 years old. He had a basic story at that point. He was a part of a race. He dwelled the pits. He worked for Shang Tsung. All that hot shit. You made him into like the Mortal Kombat 10 version of fucking Reptile, where he has over the years become more and more like a reptile. Like, that's not how it should have been. The way they could have easily explained it is that he's spent so much time seeing warriors come in and out of the outworld that he starts evolving into something like that he wants to become. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, give me the Reptile from the Mortal Kombat 2 commercial back in like 94, where he was just a man with like a dusty, shitty version of Sub-Zero's outfit, but he had scaly skin and like he had lizard eyes, but he was fighting. Like, bro, again, they nailed it in 95. And that was a regular dude. He came out whipping Liu Kang's ass. That's another thing. He came at him so fast and so aggressively, like the game. In the game, when you're playing that shit, Reptile's almost impossible to fight because he's so quick and he just busts your ass instantly. He's
Yeah.
he's harder than the boss characters to me.
I
You know
remember
what I
that.
mean?
That's OG Reptile, bro.
Yeah, so Liu Kang gets his ass whooped for a little bit, throws him off. In this movie, it was like he's a big, like 6'5" monster. He did like one karate move and then got his heart torn out. It's like, bro, fuck this whack shit.
That whole part was like especially after it being the top, scene in the original movie. Like, I couldn't top. You could have easily topped that with something, even if it was almost similar. It could have been so much better. I just, like, come on.
And that's just bad. It was just really bad writing, because I'm thinking everybody's power kind of just broke down also almost to like an item. If you think about it, almost everybody's power turns into almost like a future tech item. Like the band, he has bands, the arms, the jacket. So if these are just specific items, why didn't Raiden or Shang Tsung just give him that? Like, after Jax gets fucked up by Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung pops him like, all right, I want you on my team. Here's a gift to come on to my side. And then he just, backs up and lets him make the choice. So, he could do
like shit like that.
Here's a gift for my powers. I give you this, so you join me. And, Kano accepts and goes. So you could do some shit like that. Like, that makes more sense even.
Like, I've seen origin stories for shit like this that is done way better. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, the Power Rangers reboot movie from a few years ago, that movie sucked, and it was still better than this. Wow. And I'll tell you why. Because they did a very simple thing and they executed it pretty smoothly. The only reason it wasn't that great of a movie is because everything else about the story was pretty weak. It was pretty predictable, and they were only in costume like the last 10 minutes of the film, right? So that's kind of where that movie downfell. But when it comes to the origin, they made it, instead of making it that they were just like given these powers, they made it that they stumble upon like this alien ship, that this alien substance in this place that is connected to all this ancient shit that the Power Rangers, the powers, and they got all these. It not only enhanced them in the suits, it enhanced them physically, like Chronicle. Like, they were just humans who had strength, and you see, I could get on board with that because you're giving me you gave me too many fights in the original Power Rangers where the Power Rangers weren't in costume, and they were fighting aliens and shit. So they have to be a little more stronger than the average person. You know what I mean? But that's a storyline I could get on with. It's like very straightforward.
It's all about a universe of getting the person to suspend their sense of disbelief. If the director get you to do that, they can do anything in the movie because you'll believe what they say because they've built that universe. It doesn't seem ridiculous there because they've already set the groundwork. So it's okay to see the flying cow because he's up for that shit to make sense. So, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
It just looks like bad directing. That's what this is. Sorry, guy. Whoever you are.
Yeah. But I mean, overall,
my bad.
No, you're right. No, it is.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Simon McCoy. This is his first film.
That's something that you gotta actually think like, wow, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad for his first film.
I don't like that. This is bad.
It is bad, but it's a
professional.
He chewed off a lot.
Yeah, like for being his first movie, he did better than the second film that came out in '97. And that was a movie that shouldn't have been bad at all.
That movie was.
But what happened? What like
the trash?
Yeah, like
I think this could have been way better.
I mean, obviously, it could have definitely been better, and just with.
I just know it could have been a lot worse.
That too.
Maybe like Hiroyuki Sanada was just too expensive. They couldn't afford him, so he took all their production cash, and they were just like, "This is all we got to work with. We got to make it happen now."
I mean, honestly, I really, it's weird to me because he was bad. That's another thing. The poster boy of Mortal Kombat ends up being the main character. Like you're giving me a hard time deciding where the main character in the movie is. Like, who is this movie based off? You got Cole, who's the lead character, who barely fucking talks. Like, you gave me more Kano and more like Sonya. Yeah. I even felt like I got a little more Jax. Like, those characters felt really. These characters felt on point to me. Like Jax, I could see that's Jax. I could see him playing his attitude, even him talking shit during the fight. It was something like a real corny, like a taunt would be in the middle of a fucking fighting game.
Did he say gotcha in the movie?
No, he said I did 6 tours, motherfucker, when he was fighting Sub-Zero. But this is before he understood that Sub-Zero could murder him.
But is it me or does it feel like Cole was supposed to be Johnny Cage and they changed their mind? Like, because he starts off in the cage match, and it feels like they're like, wait, he's an actor? Oh shit! Like, I don't know. Because he has the daughter. Doesn't Johnny Cage have a daughter too? And it just felt like like they were going for that. Or I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, I don't know the lore too much, or it just felt like that. It felt like they were gonna go for that and then changed it. You know, realized it's a terrible idea.
Like, that was originally my whole idea. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, in my heart, I feel like they just couldn't afford Hiroyuki Sanada. They couldn't afford him too much, so they paid him for as many scenes as they could. They got the beginning and the end fight scenes, and after that, like, we got to get somebody like do this movie. They're like, all right, we'll give him like a nephew or some shit.
Yeah,
because other than that, why the fuck isn't Scorpion in the movie? Like,
like he's not in the movie at all. And then they did no explanation. Like, this is a game. Listen to me. They decided I don't think they understood the immense weight that they're taking on that story of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, because anybody not too familiar with the lore, the rivalry is Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. They're a part of rival clans. We all know that, right? Scorpion killed Sub-Zero killed Scorpion and his family and whatnot, and he comes back and enters the tournament for revenge. So he's like a vengeful spirit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Down the line, you figure out that Sub-Zero never did any of that, and it was Quan Chi posing as Sub-Zero and Quan Chi being the puppet master, because his idea was to get Scorpion to enter the tournament, and he was so bent on vengeance that he knew he had a champion. Like, I could win Mortal Kombat if Scorpion enters, NetherRealm can win, and I could invade Earthrealm. You know what I'm saying? Like, Quan Chi is just constantly pulling strings. So he's the one that's, he's pretty much responsible for the whole thing that happens between these two people. You know what I'm saying? Between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. When it's revealed that Quan Chi is the real person who did this, Scorpion lets go of his feud with Sub-Zero, and he starts chasing Quan Chi through the NetherRealm like forever. You know what I'm saying? So there's a very thick storyline there, and for me, it looks like what they just did is they took Quan Chi out of the whole thing, because I could accept if you try to fucking retcon this later and say that it was Quan Chi, but you fucked up already, because if it was Quan Chi, there's no reason for Sub-Zero to be talking about for the Lin Kuei. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sub-Zero shouldn't be saying for the Lin Kuei if it's really Quan Chi posing as him. That's too much of a personal tie. You know what I'm saying? So if they went down that route and they're gonna continue to keep that story like that, it's just weird, man. It's like
where do you bring in like Noob Saibot eventually, or do you bring?
Because you'd bring in Noob Saibot because that Sub-Zero gets murdered.
Yeah, but
that's him. That Sub-Zero that gets murdered ends up becoming Noob Saibot, and then Kuai Liang is the second Sub-Zero, the younger brother.
I was gonna say, supposed to come event and become Sub-Zero.
Right, he becomes he takes under the name Sub-Zero, and everybody's confused because they know he died, but he's like, no, I'm his brother, and he has a protege who's Frost, so he trains Frost. So, there's a lot of cool shit that these characters, for the most part, especially the newer games, they've been written pretty well.
Yeah. Well, who taught Sub-Zero English though?
well, here's the thing.
That's the same guy who taught Scorpion.
Well, then you see, but that's the thing. Sub-Zero's family, him and his brother, were sent to America for years. They have a similar story to Shang-Chi, where he's sent to America, he lives his life, and then when it's time for him to get down, he had already trained him for a battle in the future. And he's like, nah, you got to come back home. We need you now. So Sub-Zero and his brother have that. Kuai Liang and Bi-Han have a similar thing, where they were taken to America for years, and they were like Americanized kids, but then they were brought back to China to train to become a part of the Lin Kuei, because their father became the Grand Master, I believe. So they know mad languages, like they're like American Asian dudes.
I was gonna say, like, when he's like, I'm Sub-Zero, I'm like, gonna be called stuff that like I get there's history there, but in the movie, if I'm some random in the movie, which I didn't even know any of that. Like the deeper story, I never played 9 through 11 or whatever, 12. What are we up to? 12 or 11?
11.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so yeah, like, I don't know. It's like it was just corny to me at that part, and then the same thing with like the get over here, with Scorpion. It just it could have been so much better.
It was a shit movie. All you had to do was give us a decent movie that kind of gave us some type of character development and not some cheesy bullshit. And at the end, like, have Shang Tsung going back to them saying, "I'm sorry, our plan failed, sir. If you're fighting against Earthrealm warriors, it's not going to be so easy. They've killed many of our warriors. What are we gonna do?" And then you see like a hammer on the ground, and the person stands up, and it's Shao Kahn. Like, you just take a page out of the Avengers, where the guy was like, "Yo, we can't fuck with the Avengers. They're crazy. They just bodied all of us. Like, this dude did wild shit. We can't really fuck with them." And then Thanos just kind of looks at the camera like, "Oh, okay. Like, now I got to get involved." This is the story. The story of the game is that they don't win the 10th tournament, and Shao Kahn's like, "Yo, fuck the Elder Gods. I'm coming through anyway." Right. They got that so right in the first movie. Like,
exactly. That ending of like blows your mind, because you're not expecting them to introduce Shao Kahn like that. It looked like the end of the movie. And
the end credits before end credits.
Yup.
Like, if Mortal Kombat 95 came out right now,
don't think so.
That movie would have ended with it would have ended with Liu Kang looking up at the sky and his brother's spirit flying away, and it would have rolled to credits. And then the after credit scene would have been all the kids running out of the temple and them kind of cheering and bow to me, and that whole thing happens.
That song? So it's pretty dope.
I'm not doing that on live, bro.
You gotta do that.
I know what song that is. I remember. Yeah, man. Like, the 95 version really did a great job of taking the basic concept of the story and delivering it. And the new one just didn't do that, man. It had laughable moments. Kano was a trip, though. He was hilarious.
Yeah, I enjoyed him.
Like, it's hard to compare, but like, if this was mirror matches with the old characters and the new characters, who did you like more?
All right.
for Liu Kang first. Obviously, Robin Shao, right?
All right. Robin Shao is gonna whoop the 95. Liu Kang got the drop on 2021 Liu Kang.
For sure.
Now 2021 Sub-Zero is wiping the entire cast of 95
He would have been
Kombat.
dead in that first scene where he throws that little ball, whatever, and he would have killed all of them right there. It would have been the end of the movie. Like, damn, that shit was horrible. Everyone died already.
Nice try, guys. Nice try.
When it comes to the comic relief of the movie, Kano versus Johnny Cage.
I think old Scorpion actually busts new Scorpion's ass.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Old Scorpion was about it, bro.
Yeah, that shit come out his hand. It was like,
it's a massa, baby. He took him into hell and said welcome, and then started beating him up.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Welcome.
He said welcome and then snuffed him.
And he had Fear Factory playing.
Who in their life has ever been invited somewhere or taken somewhere, and then the person who invited you said welcome and snuffed you? Imagine
that actually happened to me a couple times.
That happened to us in the Bronx one time. Remember that? Welcome, and then we fought the whole block.
Thanks for
coming.
Yeah,
no, like that whole scene with him doing that to Johnny Cage, and you knew that wasn't really hell, but they picked like some dusty warehouse that it just looked shady, and it had dead bodies everywhere. You just knew that was his lair. That was just kind of where he brings people to fuck him up, and it was a good, effective fight. Even the fights with Liu Kang fighting bums in the sand was better than it was better than this. Like, the only thing I liked about that last scene,
I love how in the first Mortal Kombat everybody was just mad racist because the black dude, he was automatically Jax to people.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Everybody's like, yo, why Jax got dreads?
That's right.
But you know what's funny? Funny enough, that actor, he was on that show WMAC Masters, and it had a few characters from like the people who played Mortal Kombat characters in the games, right?
Yeah.
Like the people who used to do the motion capture. that actor, who was the Machine on WMSC Masters, and he was the dude that Liu Kang fought in the sand. He ended up playing Jax in the Mortal Kombat live tour.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's hilarious.
That connection,
music ball.
this is kind of like the 90s version of like people on Twitter saying this person should play this character, and it just happened to get back. They're like, fuck it, he's cheap. Like, you could probably pay this guy $600 a week and he'll do this shit. Like,
Not for nothing.
Yo.
What?
My bad. Which 3 Raidens? Who was the best one?
And I don't. It's like the first Raiden.
I got to be for this, but very rational reason, and it's gonna make perfect sense. But go ahead.
Maybe this is my nostalgia talking, but I do like the first Raiden just because it was awesome. Part of the, I love the movie, and it was Christopher Lambert. And then it's just, but he's just like some old white man. You see, we have all these Asian monks bowing to a white man. It's just, I don't know. I liked him as a Raiden, but it's still a bad choice. I don't know. But I do like the first one.
I'm gonna tell you who my favorite Raiden is.
The second one.
The second one.
Yeah, because he's the best scene in Annihilation.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Even though he got a corny ass haircut, my man.
The second Raiden was terrible. James Remar, as an actor, I fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? However, him when he goes and gets a haircut from the mountains, like that shit was terrible in Annihilation. But I will say that he's the one Raiden that I had to see fight. Like he scrapped. If he brought any of those fucking moves to this, like this new Raiden was just mad for no fucking reason all the time.
Yeah.
This is what I have to work with. Like I know they were trying to give him like that stern, like trainer vibe, but it's like this dude got a thick, like 30-year history of lore. Just make him a wise, cool person. Like stop trying to make me feel like this dude is fuck out of here, man. He's mad in that whole movie.
He popped up and he would dip. He didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really didn't do anything.
And why he had a generator though? Like why he's really, like how Kano just turned off the little thing. I'm like, that's not magic. Like he really just like zapped it. It was just like, okay.
Like that, they didn't even explain what that was. Like I watched that movie like twice, and I still don't know what these fake antennas are.
Like
that shit was corny. That and their transportation methods were never explained. They would just pop up in different spots.
Now you remember the transportation in Annihilation though?
That shit was a
the American Gladiator joint.
Yeah.
I'll take it. At least that shit was like Justice League. Like just editing bad. It just pop up in different spots.
Yeah. It just suffered, man. Like the one thing I like from the last movie, and they took I thought I was gonna get something crazy, was when Sub-Zero is fighting both Cole and Scorpion, and he just kind of walking, pointing the sword at them, and then they both get into a battle. I'm thinking the Raid, Mad Dog versus, the brothers. Yeah. I'm thinking that's the vibe they were going for. Like, yo, Sub-Zero's so nasty, you gotta jump him, right? For a minute there, it looked like that's what they were doing, and he gets, like, you remember there's a moment where Sub-Zero takes off his gear and takes off his mask, and he says, "For the Lin Kuei," and then proceeds to get fucking bitch slapped. Like, he doesn't do anything. I thought that was gonna be like him without the mask and the gear. I thought, oh, this is the way they're gonna make him fight the way he always fights. The actor, Joe Taslim, like he had too much gear. Now he's loose and he's gonna be able to wow the fuck out. I thought he was gonna put it on them, like have them near death, and it was gonna take like some wild, like Scorpion was gonna have to do like his hell spawn shit where like demons come from the ground and grab him, and then they both jump him. That would have been fucking great.
I was gonna say you could do his transportation where he goes under, pops up behind.
Yeah, like give us 7 minutes of him with no gear, just going hand to hand while they're using weapons, and he's beating the shit out of them and using his ice. And then he summons the hell spawns. They grab him by the feet. It would have been dope visually, and he would have been like being dragged into hell, and then he would have burned them, bro. It would have worked way better. But they didn't have a budget, and they didn't think like that.
Yeah,
it's like this is the only thing that really, I'm being serious, it motivates me to make, like, I need to be a millionaire so I could just do this shit myself, because I will never let that shit see the light of day.
Do it myself.
My test audience isn't gonna be some fucking wankers online. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be some people who don't. Those people saying, "Oh, what do you expect? It's a video game movie." Don't understand shit.
Yeah.
Like this movie sucks no matter what.
Exactly. I was gonna say because as a movie, it's not that great. Yes, I was able to sit through it, and you know, like we said, Kano is funny. You know, and I understand again if you don't pay attention, if you don't know the talent, and you have like no kind of taste in like fight scene. I guess the action was all right, but it's like people were just loving the one-liners. These are people who played. They made this movie for the people who play Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, maybe, you know, or saw like a cousin or somebody play it, and a lot of people that I know personally that are like, oh yeah, and you know the little callbacks. I'm like, there were such bad callbacks though. They were like literally like stuff like your mother knows about. You know what I mean? Your parents know, like little bullshit like the like the fatality and flawless victory and all that. Like yes.
Fatality for Kung Lao. Like who the fuck?
Yeah, he said fatality for Kung Lao. Like why you're talking to yourself?
Exactly. We know it's for you, bro. He didn't need that line. And this brings me back to this is something I want to bring up with. It reminds me of a behind the scenes I saw with Resident Evil, right? What's his name that did Resident Evil?
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, and fucking wonderful. Anyway. The trash ass
and Mortal Kombat.
That's what I'm saying. He did Mortal Kombat, and that's like the only decent video game movie he did. But I'll never forget. You remember the first Resident Evil had nothing to do with the first game, right? They kind of mentioned the mansion, and the whole thing takes place in a random facility. Because oh yeah, we wanted to do things for the fans, and he's here like talking like he did this great thing by. Do you remember the dog scene? He's like, oh yeah, this is great scene in the video game where the dogs crashed through the window, and then he had like that one acted like that was for the fan, like he's keeping it real, because he had a dog scene in it. I'm like, that doesn't make it like the movie like the game at all. Just because there was a dog in a window, that's it. That was
just the cheapest shit he could do. Exactly. That was in the game.
That's what I'm saying. It's like saying fatality isn't a good callback. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, 95 did it better, where Shang Tsung was the announcer. He's the one who said it and was like, like he calls it at the end of it, and the finish him, he calls it at the end of it. So, like, they didn't have to be cheesy with it. They really didn't have to be cheesy.
I mean, now that we've pretty much gotten to the gist of Mortal Kombat being fucking a letdown, I'm gonna be clear and say I am gonna see a sequel if it comes out, and I'm hoping, like I said, I hope we get a, you could have an X2, you could have a Spider-Man 2. These moments where they see, okay, listen, we had the right idea, man. We were close. They could have really cleaned that movie up, bro. That movie they needed to keep that movie Sub-Zero chasing the Earthrealm competitors. Just him. And then at the end, throw in like I don't need to see Cabal. I don't need to see none of these people. Exactly. What they needed to do, if they had the real foresight, because people gotta think bigger than this shit now, because these could become billion-dollar franchises when you treat the fans right. All they had to do is stick to a few main characters, get a strong story, and keep to that. And then down the line, seeing when these movies are making decent money, like, yo, this shit is working out for us. Put series directly on HBO Max that tie into the movies. Exactly. The way Marvel is doing with the Falcon, WandaVision. All this shit ties directly in, and it's a perfect way for you to tie up loose ends, and involve other people without jamming them into a fucking flick.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat verse would work out really, really.
A Mortal Kombat verse would be beautiful. You can have an entire series on one realm. The Chaos Realm, bro. The Chaos Realm is full of just nothing but fucked up shit.
That could be fire.
Outworld is insane. You got Edenia, which was like Outworld before Outworld. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that Sub-Zero's like in one of the stories, Sub-Zero and his brother are Edenian. They're not human. They're like a form of like Edenian is like they resemble humans, and they're from a whole other type of world, and they have the ability to form ice and shit like that. They learn that ability to use like the moisture in the air and form ice, and they become cryomancers. So like there's different stories where this is not the case, but they have so much they could work with, and a Mortal Kombat verse would definitely work.
That's what gets me upset about it too, is that like they're taking their time with it, but they still rushed it because they're not even at the tournament.
Yeah,
like they just had fucking Outworld star fights, And like, yeah, that's all it was.
Out World Star.
Was no fucking real tournament joints. So why not just do a slower paced initial film?
Yeah.
And, you know,
I mean, like for me, I think this kind of just gets us into the topic of why are all like, how is it possible that all video game adaptations are questionable? Like, what is it that these people don't understand? You know what I mean? Like you explained earlier, Paul W.S. Anderson also did Resident Evil. Bro, do you understand how easy it is to keep people happy with a Resident Evil fucking with a movie of that or a series of that? Do you understand how simple that is? I might take on a Resident Evil. I would never do a movie because movies are becoming, to me, unless it's for like a certain style of film that you're in for, things with that depth of story and that thick of a story, you need to just stick to doing series, high budget series that just always keep people coming back. You know what I mean? Like if you could get a show, imagine like a Mortal Kombat handled the same way they handled like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, because that's how thick the lore gets. You know what I'm saying? People are patient if you're doing things effectively. People don't just care to fucking rush into stuff because it feels forced, and the fans know that. You know?
Exactly. It
like
reminds me.
No, go ahead.
What is it? You're saying kind of reminds me like what he did rather with Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is ripe for whatever. It could have been such an amazing like story, and they could have written that however they wanted. Number one, only the monster fight, and you didn't need to have an American or a Earth, an Earth realm, a military go into this other world. That's not a thing. It's never been a thing in the games. Literally, the games are very standalone. It's about tribes that survive, and that's their way of life. Like, they have to tame these monsters now. They have to kill them and turn them into pants. You know what I mean? That's literally the gist of the fucking game. And it's like to all this other shit, you have creative freedom because there's not a really thick story with Monster Hunter, but you chose to go a bullshit route with this. Even if you use your bum ass girlfriend, wife, or whatever to be in the movie, again, it could have been more of a tribal, kept it like either age story, or it could have been anything you want and show dope monsters. Then they go and fucking do some.
Transformer worked, and Transformers kind of did it that way, so we'll do that.
Yeah, they were just ripping out Transformers. And
it's people who want to make money or make video game movies. That's what it seems like. It's like, if you want a quick buck, you don't do like a serious drama. You do a video game movie because you figure it's like an unintelligent audience, sort of. It's an easy audience, they probably figure, and they keep making money with them. So that's why they do it, because well-made movies. They're not. It's because somehow people keep watching them. So fuck it, they're gonna keep doing it.
That's the part that sucks, because you could, like you said, you could have instead of having a one-off that makes some money, you could have $1 billion franchise by putting a little more effort, and not even a whole lot of effort. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just utilize your talent. Right? Sit down with some of the creators and people around our demographic, because you're hitting to us here. We're the demographic for these types of movies. Yes, you have people younger than us, but they that's the dumb audience. But that's where the dope fighting would have come in, and keep the story coherent and awesome, and have awesome fights for Damon. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's crazy. I'm just now thinking about it, and Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil suffer from a lot of the same stuff. For one, a movie that has some of the elements of the game, but failed to like capture the story at all. That's there. And then they brought a new character into the fray that is new to the universe that has nothing to do with shit. That also, it's just strange to me that they don't understand or see how simple it is to do something and keep it to the story. Like, my approach, if I ever had the opportunity to do a Resident Evil story, right? I would do a Resident Evil anthology series where maybe 2-3 episodes max connect. Everything's connected, obviously. It's all Raccoon City. It's all stuff like that. But I would have stuff that you never thought about. Like, stuff like, I would get like I don't know. I'm trying to think of casting, right? Like, who I would get to be in this story. If it was something like HBO, you could probably get like a Marsha Ali, or that's how you pronounce his name. I'm sorry. You could get like, notable actors, right? I would have a story of a fucking cop who's been on the job for like 15 years, going on to his, he's gonna retire in 2 years. The guy's just had an argument with his wife. He's going off to his day at work. The whole Raccoon City shit happens, and the police station gets overrun. Fucking one of the last scenes in this episode with this guy is he's laying on a fucking against the wall in one of the police offices, and a fucking rookie comes crashing to the door, and he gives him his key card. It's Leon. So that the character you've been seeing throughout this whole hour of an episode is the cop that gives you the key card in Resident Evil 2, who dies.
Oh yeah, it's true. The black guy. Yeah.
Right. You don't know who this person is until the very end. Like, you didn't even realize that this would be the same person, but it ties directly in. You got to handle these shows a little, these projects a little better. Like,
I would just do like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, that first season, all the way up to when they get to like the CDC. You could have just called that Resident Evil. If you would have called that Resident Evil, put a few umbrella logos here or there, I would fucking eat that shit up.
That would have been, if they would have called that show Raccoon City instead of The Walking Dead, and named those characters different stuff, and change some crucial parts of the story, and just include a few liquors, like at the end of season, like in the middle of season 2, the mid-season finale of season 2. There's a fucking liquor, and they don't know what the fuck it is, and they're locked in the prison at this point. Like, you see, like, this is, you can take all the liberty you want, just make it good. That's all we care about. The MCU and Marvel, all these dudes do it all the time. None of that shit is timeline accurate. You understand? The Civil War taking place before Infinity War is not a thing.
Yeah.
They just did it because it was a good way to break the Avengers up. You know what I mean? They're missing like half the roster. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they need their own version of Charlie Day sitting in front of the whiteboard with all the fucking yarn connecting and
yeah, exactly.
Crazy. That's what they need to fucking build a real universe to get people into this shit, because it's hard to latch on when nothing makes sense.
You know what? Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mario.
With screenplays, that's the real work. It's the writing, right? So like sometimes to write a correct, if you're thinking of a series of films, you sometimes have to write out the whole series. So this arcs could hit, and like I think it's also another thing where the director is like, would I do that work? And maybe this only gets one movie. But it's like, if you want to make a good script and see it through, you got to do that work. Yeah. It's like, you hear about shows, like a certain show writers, how they'll write a couple of seasons and they're trying to just get a pilot pitched. So you're just trying to get one fucking episode, but you already wrote 3 seasons. That's a lot of fucking work.
And that's why the show gets bad after that 3rd season, because that original material just finally runs out.
Yeah, but you get picked up now and it hits. Now you got a cool story. You got all these awesome arcs. You got these flows, these dips and dives of characters, and that it links up from something that happened in season 1 and you see in season 3. It's like, that's the genius in it. But it's like, I don't know. I think it's just the faulty of not taking it serious enough, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I like One Piece so much. Like when it comes to like mangas, like One Piece resonates with me so much because everything makes sense. Like he's written everything out and it shows, because he'll link something that happened like 100 chapters ago. He'll link it with the current chapter, and if it makes sense, he explained it all. Like you're like, oh shit, like yes, this all works out. Versus like Bleach or Naruto and random shit happens and you're just like, what?
Yeah,
that's great. That's great when you have something like that works out. You know what I mean? Like that just goes to show that people don't only care to make fans happy visually, but you want to get them intrigued in the story. You want to get them, involved, because, like I said, the lore could get very, very awesome in a Mortal Kombat type universe. In fact, they had a series back in the day, the Mortal Kombat Conquest. That shit was pretty, like, I look back at it now and I'm like, it has that 90s cheese, but that shit was pretty cool. Like, I liked it. It was way better than that second film. It felt like the first movie. Like, it felt more like the first movie, and it was following Kung Lao. The ancient Kung Lao, though. Like, the first one, the one that, like, got defeated by Goro. So it was like, it felt like that universe. They had the right idea a long time ago, man. But I mean, for me, I kept seeing a lot about this is the end of bad video game movies, and I mean, I honestly, it just, what do you think? You tell me what you think your guys' worst fucking video game adaptations or adaptations in general from like
House of
pop
the Dead.
culture. That's pretty bad.
That shit
That's pretty
was,
bad.
bro. That shit was super trash. Like that shit was bum juice, bro.
Yeah, that's a crazy one too, because I feel like people are the easy ones to go for are like Street Fighter and shit, and Mario, but that one is definitely worse.
Bro, when you see the dude jumping off the trampoline, I was like, "This is está pasado, loco, bro." Yeah.
Alone in the Dark was pretty bad.
Oh yeah.
What about Alone?
Yeah, Christian
another one.
finest.
They didn't have a good actor though.
Christian Slater and
Yeah.
Tara Reid. I don't think she was a good actress, but Christian Slater, he needed a paycheck, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what about you? What about you, Games?
I don't know. I think I haven't seen. I'm trying to think of what I have seen. I don't think I've seen House of the Dead or
Don't.
Alone in the Dark. But I guess out of the ones I have seen, I mean, the last one that I know that I tried watching and I couldn't sit through it. It was Street Fighter. It's just bad, and Annihilation, I guess, is based on Mortal Kombat.
Which one? Hold on.
The live action one.
What? You don't like Raul Julia as?
I mean, he was the only like half decent character in the whole thing.
They fucking got me to play Bison.
I'll tell you who the
Oh man, his speech and the fucking end of that shit is fire.
I mean, I have to watch it. It has been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, I mean,
that movie's perfection, dog. It's campy perfection. It's so good.
Now, the part that blows my mind is when Vega pulls out his claw in jail. I was like, yo, this is too much, man. This is
it was made of wood. It was made of wood.
Yeah, that man had the craziest shank in jail ever, bro.
Yeah. I mean, not for nothing. I have a. Well, Super Mario Bros. Is like, it's a guilty pleasure. Like, I actually enjoy that movie as bad as it is, and it is bad. I remember loving it as a kid. Like, I loved it. I knew it was weird. It didn't make sense, but I loved it. And then watching it years later, I'm just like, wow, this movie really is bad. But, it's fun. And then when you know the history behind it, his arm was like broken half the time. And the guy, John Hopkins, what's his name? That's his name, right?
Anthony Hopkins?
No.
John Hoskins.
Yeah. His freaking arm was like broken half the time. They were drunk drinking on the job. So it's like kind of makes it cool to watch that movie when you know like the crazy history that they went through. But
that's funny.
Yeah, it was like Street Fighter. It got revealed that Jean-Claude Van Damme had sex with Kylie Minogue while they were filming, and he was on coke every day.
Yeah, I buy that. That tracks.
He was on coke every day during the set.
Jean-Claude got Kylie Minogue though. That's crazy.
Yeah, he smashed back then. You know what's crazy? That movie went a route that made bro. That's the worst fucking movie. Like that movie.
No.
Listen, I love the movie for the same reasons you do.
Your life. For me, it was Tuesday.
Bro, they had Miklo from Blood and Blood Out playing Ken.
Oh man.
That's really him. I'm not joking. I'm not saying he resembles Miklo. That is Miklo. It's the same actor. Yeah. It's bad, bro. Like, come on, look at Blanca. Blanca came out of that fake ass time machine so scared.
Right. They made him watch fuck the videos.
They made him watch bad Facebook videos.
Skinny, bro.
Yeah, he was just doom scrolling fucking YouTube and it twisted him. See what YouTube does to you when you watch that shit straight?
He was on 4chan and just turned into Blanca.
He was on the fucking random thread. He fucking lost it.
Interestingly enough, you remember the Street Fighter movie game?
Yeah, the game based on a movie that's based on a game.
yeah, it came out on PlayStation. Mario had it, and they also had the arcade version was different from the one that came out on PlayStation. I'm pretty sure, and like a lot of the sound effects that are in that game ended up being in Street Fighter Alpha. I remember. Now I don't know if my timing is if it was really close in Japan. Like maybe it was already out. But I remember hearing the shit, and then when I first played Street Fighter Alpha, hearing it and being like, "Oh, this sounds like the movie game." Like everything about the sound effects, the kicks and the punches, and
they definitely. I remember that too because I have this. When I first saw the Street Fighter the movie game, I saw it was the arcade game. I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, I remember being mad confused. I'm like, "It's already a game," but yeah, and it had all those newer sound effects that weren't in this, in part 2. Started in Alpha.
Yeah.
But let's keep it real. Jean-Claude was a perfect guy, right?
So French guy plays a perfect American.
He's a perfect American soldier.
I'm going to get on my boat. I'm going to go up river, and I'm going to kick that son of a bitch that bites his ass so hard that the next bison wanted me is going to feel it.
But when we were kids, he was the perfect. I was like, "Yo, Jean-Claude's playing." Guy, I remember being hyped for that when
we didn't even realize why that was a really bad idea. Like we just cared about seeing this movie. They made that movie like that shit is like a war flick meets a random like, bro, that movie sucks.
I remember walking out of Street Fighter. My father took me to see that. He was like that movie? And I was like, yeah, I like it. And he was like, all right. He must have been there like, oh, fuck is this?
He was looking at this shit like, damn, these kids are fucking stupid, yo. This shit is fucking trash, bro. I can't believe I gotta watch this shit.
That was great, man.
I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I just like Raul Julia, if I'm keeping it real. That was my guy back then. He was Adam's Family. He was, Adam Gomez.
That was his last movie.
Yeah, so that was my dude. So when I saw in this, I was like, I gotta watch it. And he was the best part. I mean, his acting was so far better than everybody else in it. Like, if I'm keeping it real, that was it. The rest of it is god awful, but it's camp. It's
like that. It's like, I mean, if you look at even the Mario Brothers movie, it had a fire lineup of actors.
Yeah.
And, and it's terrible, but it was like, like the people who put in the work, like it was all right. It had its moment. But it's just sometimes you can't.
It's so weird to me now. Like now, live action is kind of like taking a back seat for like adaptations, kind of, because you have movies that are like, Detective Pikachu, Ready Player One, the Sonic movie. These movies are heavy CGI. Characters are heavy CGI, which automatically makes it a much easier approach, to like delivering.
Like the Sonic movie. Hated it. I
didn't see it.
I didn't get to see it.
I mean, I've never bothered to watch it. I did hear that it was pretty decent.
People would like it, and first of all, it's a big advertisement for. I can't remember, but they advertised the shit out of some product, and like, really, that's who paid for this fucking movie, and then it's just not good. I don't know. I hated it. It was just really bad acting. It was. Why he was there, like you could have just did a freaking, it could have just been so much better than that. You know what I mean? It's just another lost opportunity with an easy story. There's literally hardly any story. It's about a human who takes over an animal kingdom, and the fast blue hedgehog saves the day. Like, I mean, it's not that hard. The fact that he comes into Earth and like Monster Hunter, like they had to add humans and regular people and make him some alien, fucking dumb. It didn't make any sense. I didn't like.
Tried.
Yeah, like the need to constantly evolve live action and actors and like have the movie be on their back when they could easily make a movie that's fully animated and delivered much better. It's just annoying at that point. Like even if you're going back to movies like Ninja Turtles was set in a real world, so it makes sense to have puppet guys or like people in these realistic suits. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But everything was practical and it felt like everybody was interacting with like the first Ninja Turtle movie is a prime example of what you want to do when you adapt something from a script or a book to a movie. The first Ninja Turtles was dark, it was gritty, it was New York in the fucking late 80s because the movie dropped in 1990, and back then it took way longer to film, so they were filming for at least a year and a half. So this is New York in the 80s. Even though this movie came out in 90, you're seeing 80s New York. And it gets that feel. You got that tone automatically. Just New York looking the way it did back then took care of the whole tone of the flick. You know what I'm saying? Because then the rest of the film was just easy. They did what they had to do. That's Shredder. He's the bad guy. He has beef with Splinter. Splinter taught them how to fight. He's gonna get kidnapped, and they're gonna go after him. It got emotional for a moment. You know, the campfire scene where he comes out, his spirit comes out talking to them, and they're all crying. As a kid, that shit made me feel like, oh man, like they gotta get him now. Like, and they effectively scored. They hit everything. Everybody was casted perfectly. Casey Jones was a great addition. He didn't feel forced. You know what I'm saying? They gave him beef with Raphael. You had the voice actor of Raphael in the movie.
Yeah,
he's in the taxi cab.
The cab, yeah.
Yeah, when Raphael crashes into the car, he's like, "Hey, what was that thing?" And he's like, "I don't know."
You know that dude's in mad shit. He's in Law and Order. He plays like a lawyer in Law and Order and like mad episodes and in mad shit. I was like,
he has a pretty crazy career.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like one of the only few people. Well, him and Casey Jones are the only ones who like kept it going after that.
Yeah. And then like, you know, another thing, that kid, Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah,
he was actually, even though he was a character in the second movie, he played Kino. He actually played Donatello in the suit in part 1.
Oh shit!
So he was Donatello in that suit the whole time, like all those fight scenes, because he grew up as a stunt kid, martial arts, because of his dad. So this kid's in, you know, fucking The Last Dragon.
I was gonna say the little boy. That's right.
Yeah,
you mentioned it that
5
night.
years old, he was like close to being a fucking black belt at that age. So now he's still relevant. He trains UFC fighters like Masvidal and shit.
Yeah.
I follow him on Instagram, and he's training Wiz Khalifa. Like you know how Wiz Khalifa underwent a transformation. He's like Crazy Diesel, and he does MMA. Ernie Reyes Jr. is his trainer.
Wait, Wiz Khalifa does MMA? What the fuck?
Yeah, he does MMA, but he's wild ripped, bro. He's like dumb big, and
wait,
he's
he got
ripped.
big?
Yeah, he got ripped, bro. He got ripped.
Brawny as fuck, right?
And I'm sorry, it wasn't Masvidal. It was this dude, the fucking dude who first put Conor McGregor to sleep.
Dustin Poirier?
Nah, the other cat. The dude from the West Coast, Smokesman.
Nate Diaz.
Yeah, Nate Diaz. He trained Diaz, bro.
Wow.
He trained Diaz. Like I follow him, and you see him on his Instagram. He's not one of those dudes that's like all about the past and doing conventions. He's out there like really still relevant as fuck. Yeah, and that's how you do it. You know, like that movie, the first movie, they nailed it. The second movie became real childish. They didn't use any weapons. They wanted to draw in the family bucks, and that movie still drew us in. It was still acceptable. Like you could still watch Ninja Turtle: Secret of the Ooze, and it had a cool story.
Yeah, it was good enough. Yeah, it did the job. 3 was just trash.
3 was a fucking get the shit out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't see 3.
You didn't see 3? You don't need to see.
You don't have to see 3.
Yeah.
That's the time.
It's like they did the same. They literally ripped off Back to the Future 3. That's all they did.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I blocked that on my mind. That's why.
Wait, so what's your overall rating of Mortal Kombat?
I'll start.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I was gonna give it a 5.
What's the scale first? Out of what?
Out of 10.
Oh, yeah,
out of 10? All right.
Out of 10, I give it a 6 because it made me laugh, and I wasn't hating my time with it. Like, it wasn't like I wanted to turn it off. You know what I mean? It didn't bore me. So fun if you don't know anything about Mortal Kombat and have low expectations. You know what I mean? It's okay. You know
if you're blind and deaf, it's
exactly. Like if you leave your eyeballs, your ears, and your brain at the door and just kind of sit there and listen to the vibrations, it's alright. It's alright. Feel the vibrations rather. It's alright. But yeah, that's like I said, it made me laugh, so that's why I give it a 6 instead of a 5.
All right, what about you, Dave?
Oh, I give it a strong 4.
Out of 100.
Yeah, strong 4 out of 100. Out of 1,000, I give it a 2.5. It disrespected the 2 best actors in it. It gave 0 screen time to. It butchered a really simple story. It fucked up special effects it didn't even need to have in the first place. It disrespected Reptile again. Like, fuck this movie. This shit was terrible.
Yeah. You, Mario?
I'm gonna give it out of 10. I'd give it 6 because I do think the costume design was awesome. it was cool to see these characters brought to life like that. Like that's the best adaptation of all the characters. It had some, for the guy making his first film, I kind of look at it from that perspective too. He bit off a little more than he could chew. He tried too many like what's that word I'm looking for?
Cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, kind of, but he took too much precedent in adding his own ideas when it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 out of 10, but 5 to 6. But it was pretty trash.
Like it brought ideas that can be, again, it could have been way, way, way better, but it brought ideas that can be saved later, and it's salvageable. That's why I give it some credit, because it's salvageable later. It's not like that's it. It's old. It's not Annihilation bad. You know what I mean? Like there was no saving that franchise. A third movie was
retcon everything because he's just gonna bring everybody back to life. That's why it's salvageable. Just like, okay, that doesn't count. We're doing it again.
I would give this movie, for me, I'm gonna give it a strong 5 out of 10.
Strong.
Yeah, the reason I'm saying strong 5 out of 10 is because I feel like there was a big half of this movie. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, I call it a big half of this movie I did not like, and a big half that I did. I say that because, or I should just say portion, and that's because, again, the look of, they took a lot of liberty with the costumes of these two characters, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and they did something cool with them. Like, I really did enjoy Scorpion's look. I felt he looked a little too new Mortal Kombat. A little bit of of the new Mortal Kombat, and I got zero explanation as to. They showed me a few little things of Scorpion in Hell, which was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, they're not even giving me an explanation as to why any of this is possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to tell me, you got to give me the idea that there are forces beyond my understanding in this world that are making this happen. That's kind of what the 95 version did. Like, you had Shang Tsung floating in the sky saying it has begun, in these spirits, and they're watching this. Like, everybody in that movie genuinely looked surprised at what the fuck was going on. Like, Johnny Cage was like completely like, what the fuck is this? You see that guy? He just froze somebody. Liu Kang is like driven because he hates Shang Tsung, but he's still like, what the fuck is this? Sonya doesn't know what's going on. Like, they nailed that idea of like these warriors that don't know each other meeting for the first time and learning together. They aced that. This movie didn't. This movie just felt like a bunch of people who were put in, like, it was just too perfectly set up. Like, Liu Kang's walking through the fucking desert by himself and he just stumbles upon these people. Like, why do you not know where they are already, dude? This is stupid shit. Like, this is Raiden could have got all of them in seconds. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, you see him transporting people left and right throughout this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it when it matters. And then, by the same logic of Shang Tsung being like, hey, I'm gonna kill everybody before the tournament starts, so the tournament doesn't happen and we win. They just did the same thing to Ya, so the tournament shouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? But he's gonna say death is a portal. Next time I'll bring armies. It's like they didn't even that Shang Tsung didn't speak to me at all. He felt like he was nothing.
Yeah, he was nothing. He didn't even shapeshift one time, right? Am I bugging? He didn't shapeshift not one time. Like, not even once. Not even one time. His iconic power of changing into other people. He didn't do it one time. Like, come on.
Yeah, all he did was take this dude's soul, and it's kind of like, even in the Mortal Kombat 95 one, we got, fucking Johnny Cage thinks his master Boyd came through.
I'm saying he manipulated it, you know what I mean, to get the people there. Made
Johnny join the shit. They doing what I'm saying they needed to do in this movie with Quan Chi. Like, they did that already with Shang Tsung in the 95 version, where he was planting the seeds. He knew he needed these people here. He wasn't trying to keep people away. That's the thing. This Shang Tsung had no fucking confidence. He wanted to stop them from being able to fight. Shang Tsung wanted motherfuckers to fight in 95.
Yeah.
He wanted people at his island. Like, nah, y'all gonna come because y'all gonna get waxed.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get bodied, bro.
His character in this was like kind of feminine, kind of like soft. It was like it was just a weird like setup for him. It was like,
like
Shang Tsung, like.
I'm
They
saying,
try to
like,
make
they
him a,
that wig was trash too, right?
yeah,
that
like
was-
they just did it to you. Like I'm telling you, they just did it to just look at the original one as and say, how can we do, like, you know, keep some of the energy from the what made the first one great, and
Yeah.
and then translate that better with better lore and amazing scenes. It's like, again, yeah, because you felt Shang Tsung was evil, like he oozed evil through the screen when, like you said, when he goes, it has begun. Like you feel like, oh, something's about to go down, like this shit.
bro. The opening to the 95 version where he's just beating the shit out of his brother, a brother that was never in the games. This shit is new to the movie. But again, exactly. He fucking he made this random person like that we've never met in the movie. Like it's a young kid who's ambitious and just naive. Went against Shang Tsung, not knowing what he's up against, and he gets bodied, gets his back cracked and his soul taken, and he's killed. That's Liu Kang's whole reason for joining the tournament, and he doesn't even believe in Raiden or none of this. He's like, "Get this shit out of here, man! Like I don't believe none of this." In this movie, Liu Kang is like a fucking pet.
Yeah,
he's like, wait. The Thunder God Lord, like he just seems so weird and kooky, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like there was a lot of this movie I didn't like. I had many issues with it. I liked the changes they made. I like Sub-Zero's costume. I like that they went a very samurai route. You know, it made it feel like Mortal Kombat Deception, Sub-Zero, where he had like all the steel on his gear. They made Sub-Zero feel like a threatening, menacing character, and I could have used that the whole time. All I needed was to see him doing that the whole time. Just make him chase down these people. You know what I'm saying? And then let the last fight be not that he's not that he's not that he doesn't know about the Shiryu bloodline. Make it that he's seeking it out. You know what I mean? That's the part of the movie that these people in Mortal Kombat, none of these characters have ever been like, except for Kano. A lot of these people have never been like the type with like to try and trick you into losing a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like no honor type shit. These people want to fucking scrap.
I was gonna say that's the whole point of this shit.
Yeah, like removing the honor part was a little annoying. Like they could have that's what gives it its, like, you know,
that's true.
Asian like background, you know what I mean? Like honor is everything in Japan.
Honor is everything in Japan. That's why Scorpion's character is the only one with it. He's the only one in the story that's like, remember this face, I'm gonna come kill you. But I forgot your face because you're not in the fucking movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, remember this face. He was really telling you to remember because you're not gonna see him anymore until the last fucking 10 minutes.
Other movies.
Yeah, like they made the big reveal, like he's about to kill Cole and he gets hit by the spear. Like, you've been saving this dude. Like, first of all, you're not explaining to me how he's been dead for centuries, but these motherfuckers, he doesn't know that Scorpion exists. He's like, oh, Scorpion's dead, I killed him centuries ago, so he just decided to come now. Like, he's been like, this shit is, I get the whole where they were going for with Cole's the reason why he came back, because his bloodline is in the, like, being seeked out by the tournament is a reason. Bro, fuck out of here with that. It was weak. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's why I'm surprised you guys think there's gonna be a sequel. Like, you guys
there's gonna be a sequel because it's gonna do good. It's already done pretty decent numbers for COVID.
People are loving it though. Like
yeah, a lot of people really love the movie, and I don't understand how.
Bad things about it.
Oh yeah, no, you're right, but you should see it. There's a person
you should see. Before the movie came out, it was nothing but positive reviews. So I was surprised, like, yo, this shit's gonna be fire. And then I watched the movie, and I'm like, bro,
the amount of hate and anger that this dude, this guy that I follow, who has very strong opinions, and you know, he's a game journalist, and he's here from Queens, so I kind of like. I follow him just to like interact and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I'm about to throw on the Mortal Kombat." I was like, "Hate it." I knew it. 2 hours later, I came late, so by the time his next tweet was already out, he was like, "Just saw the Mortal Kombat movie, and that shit was trash." And I was like, the amount of anger in the thread about like, "Yo, what the fuck you talking about? It was amazing." And these are video game heads that follow. You know, he's a game journalist. These are all video game heads following him. Grown men too.
That does show you the quality of films some people do like, you know?
Yeah, and people, anger, straight anger. I was like, wow, people were getting tired.
I want to hear about it. I want to hear what people actually enjoyed. Like, what could
they loved
the fights? I get that, but there were so few of them, like real fights. Like,
they felt like it really followed the little bit of extra lore they gave of people like that. And what was another one?
But the main piece of lore is completely wrong. So how could they possibly think?
And the little one-liners, people ate that shit up. They ate that shit up. When they said fatality, that was fire, and when he rips the heart out, and people, I'm telling you, yeah, people liked it. But I think there's enough vocal hate though that's why I said I think they're gonna salvage it. I think they're going to do better. I don't know why I have faith. Maybe I'm naive. Call me naive. But
that's just gonna double down on trash,
right? It'll just be trash. Like, but
on this planet anymore.
But yeah, people loved it. There was a lot of people who like are passionate about how great that movie. I'm like, wow, I did not expect people to love it.
They're bugging, and then the whole thing with the end of bad video game movies. It's like, you guys are weird, bro. Like, this is still a bad video game movie. This movie didn't even do a lot of what the characters do. Like, I saw scenes in the movie where I'm like, it would have been better, and I get budget's an issue, but they would have done, maybe they could have taken Goro out of the movie and Natara out of the movie, and they could have easily just had, instead of having those characters, have it that Sub-Zero's working for Shang Tsung, and he brought more of the Lin Kuei. You know what I'm saying? He brings more of the Lin Kuei with him, and they get washed. They're the ones that get fatalized.
But how did I don't know. I don't care if, like, how did Sub-Zero even meet Shang? Because he wasn't like, with him. Like, I kind of was sad about that. Like, they don't explain. They're just buddies.
Yeah, these are the parts of the movie. These are the parts of the movie that they expect people from the game world to just get. Like, and yeah, I get that they do work together, but it's like, bro, you gotta explain something.
Movie. It's like, come on.
Yeah, you gotta explain something. Like, this was a prequel movie without wanting to be, and it was like by mistake, which is strange. Like, it's a by mistake prequel. You know what I mean? It's like part 2 of the movie. I don't know what the fuck. Like, the game is gonna cover the tournament. The movie's gonna cover the tournament, but it's like, what do we care about that at this point? Like, the story, I don't see how the story is gonna get much better.
It's not.
I'm mad because they fucked it up again, man. Like, I gotta wait another 30 years for this, and it's never gonna happen again.
This needs to change hands immediately. He needs to find a new producer.
Like, if you would have given that movie, to the Russo brothers, who did Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, and like, if martial arts was just their thing, bro, or give me a Gareth Evans who does the Raid movies with the Russos producing and writing, they would have fucking completely bodied that shit, bro. Completely bodied. Like, I'd be talking a different talk right now, because I watch these movies and there's only 2 things I automatically think when I see movies like The Raid. I think Mortal Kombat, I think Power Rangers. Like, I would love a dark take on Power Rangers, not cheesy, but just like a little more gritty, and have the fight scenes be like that. When they're in their costumes and you have motherfuckers busting off helmets and the glass breaking and blood and shit. What?
Maybe they should have given this to Pete Travis, who directed Dredd. So he has a little experience with a comic book, right? So you can say, all right, he's got gaming comic book cred, and it was pretty much The Raid, except
I can see that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Give him the next one, baby. I'll watch that. I trust.
Bro, give it to me. Fuck that.
Baby, give it to him.
Yeah, we're running out a little bit of time here. It's got to stay under an hour and a half, but that's not happening. So
it's time.
So really quick, I wanted to hear or Mario, what were your thoughts on the ending, the little reveal, at the end?
I mean, it's just garbage followed by garbage, man. It's like how easy was that? Like, it's not exciting. Like, okay, and then the bum ass Cole's gonna go find him. Like, I don't want to see this dude do nothing else.
Exactly. Why couldn't he just get his soul taken out? I would have been like, yeah.
Word, you're right.
That would have been awesome.
Better, yeah.
Right? It would have been a twist. It would have been like, yo, the main character got bodied and he's out in the first.
That's how it transfers over to another character.
Exactly. out of here.
He needed to he needed to just be Takeda from Mortal Kombat. Like they could have just made there is a Shirai Ryu person in the later games, and he's directly connected to Scorpion, and he's Shirai Ryu, wears the same colors and everything. They could have just made it that Cole is him, you know, like this is your real name, this is your real lineage, this and that. You could have done that, and we would have been fine with it. We don't care if it happened much later or not. Like you could change this kind of stuff, and you know you could get away with it. Marvel movies do it all the time, but it's just one of those things where it just felt like don't try to hype up a character. This Mortal Kombat shit started with Johnny Cage, literally, because that model of a character, the actor is wearing a fake Jean-Claude Van Damme outfit from Bloodsport. It was because there was supposed to be a Van Damme game, and it got canceled, so they were left with all this fucking motion capture technology, and they had actors ready to go for the game. So they decided, well, we have a budget, we could do this, we could do that. Let's use this technology to create a game. And they created a game that's heavily inspired by all these old movies, like Big Trouble in Little China. You know, you had Enter the Dragon, you know, is the big one, the tournament and everything like that. So these are all movies that were kind of inspiring this game. And the game comes out, and you have 7 characters. Johnny Cage is one of the first people they had created. You're not gonna hype me up into thinking that Johnny Cage is the type of character you put in the end credit scene or the end of the movie reveal. Like, this motherfucker been here since '91. It goes back to what Ezra said when they make you pay for DLC for characters that have been involved from the beginning. Legacy You're not hyping me up with that bullshit, bro.
And if you're gonna be all like, cryptic, they should have showed the poster. I think if that's gonna be like your little hint, or where he could have. Who else is in Hollywood? Who the fuck else is in Hollywood? If he would have just said it's like, oh, where you going? I'm going to Hollywood. That's it. Not even not why or but who. He didn't even have to say who. Just I'm going to Hollywood could have just been like that, and he could have left. And I mean, it would still been bad, but at least it leaves a little bit more to the imagination instead of saying who's coming next movie. It's like, gives a fuck.
Yeah, like you're hyping us up for Johnny Cage, and then what? Now you're giving us another reboot, because now we're getting the real reboot of the first movie. And don't I want it to be good, but I'm telling you, this next movie, if you're gonna be fucking half-assing the story like this, I need to have A1 fighting all the way through. Exactly. I need to see fighting that makes me go, oh hell no, this movie's crazy, son. Like I don't care if they talk at all. I want to see them fuck each other up.
Literally what that's my biggest argument of the whole thing. I find if you can't flesh out the story the way you wanted to, or you don't know how to, it should have focused hard on fun. I'm telling you, it could have literally been arcade mode. See the two you see Sonya versus Kano, just the 2 pictures, a little bit of smart Alec remarks in the beginning, and then them
me
fighting
versus you, Danny.
You see, like that.
The review. My bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dave.
I was just the reveal, if anything, because just to tag along the poster reveal. If anything, it made me more upset because it reminded me that, oh yeah, we were missing Johnny Cage this whole time.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, oh, that's right. This could have been.
And again, people were like wondering where he was in the trailer. I wouldn't be surprised if that shit just really got added. Like, shit, supposed to be Johnny Cage in this.
Yeah, like it was a very weak. And then I get annoyed by little things. Like it was the Mortal Kombat 9 version of Johnny Cage. Like with the fucking jacket and the belt buckle and shit, and it's like, and it says Citizen Cage, Johnny Cage. Like you couldn't pick no other name of a movie, like Ninja Mime, or like why you gotta use the name Cage? We get it. Like you don't have to put the name Cage like twice on one poster for us to know. And then it's on his belt buckle. It says Johnny Cage and Citizen Cage with a Johnny Cage fucking belt buckle. Like, yo, redundant. All we needed to see was like a pair of shades, and we're
pictures
done.
of him in a cage.
Yeah, it's him in a cage. Johnny Cage and caged.
That's why I say. It feels like they were starting off with making that other dude that and changed their mind, because I'm like, just the way it kind of started off, it was just like he's in a cage. And he's a trash fighter, you know what I mean? And it's like that's what Johnny Cage is always trying to prove, that he's not just an actor, but he's a good fighter, top of an actor. So it's like,
bro, that
yeah,
that first movie, they did it in 2 seconds. He meets the random guy. Hey, you're Johnny Cage, right? Listen, man, there's no way you can fake those moves. He's like, yeah, well, tell that to the press. And he's like, wait a
there's his
second,
backstory.
you're Arlene, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I see you. I seen you fight in Brazil. You were great. Like, Johnny Cage was perfect in the first movie, and you know how perfect he was. That till this day, that's how they depict him. Even in Scorpion's Revenge, the animated movie, it's identical to that. He's a complete numbskull. He's a great fighter, but he's a complete like just arrogant dickhead that is not in tune with what's really going on. And he has mad funny moments in the story, and then you find out that he could actually fight, and everybody's surprised, like, oh shit, Johnny Cage could fight. Everybody thinks he's a fake.
Like the Jake Paul of the Mortal Kombat universe.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. And then in the 95 movie, I bet you they're not going to top that. Like where you see it looks like he's really in a fight. You don't know what's going on. All of a sudden goes, this is where you fall. Like that. I don't know. That shit was fire to me. It's like,
this is where you fall down.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a fight. They gave him his split. He had a nice little fight with Goro that was satisfying. Goro fell to his death, and you didn't feel a way about it.
Exactly.
It was just like, oh, like I felt a way more about Kano getting killed, because it was like Kano doesn't die, and then they kill off Johnny Cage in like the first 2 minutes of Annihilation.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, like where are they going with this? But overall, 95 version holds it down, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
There was not one surprising. The last thing I'm gonna say. If you're gonna try to go for the Mortal Kombat movie, the first thing on your plate should have been, we need a moment that's gonna catch audiences completely off guard, like that movie did. You know what I'm saying? Like that movie, Liu Kang fighting Reptile was the moment, and it wasn't the pit. Like they had a fight on the pit. Did you even notice that in this new movie?
Jax versus Rico? And it just randomly starts there. I was like,
it was like, why did you have them at the pit and nobody got thrown in the pit?
Exactly.
And then on top of that, the fact is, they could have done so much cool shit. Like, if you really want to show me that you paying attention to this game, you could have shown me. This is how I would have brought Reptile in. They would have ended up on that pit by accident, and it would have been a fight between like Sub-Zero versus Kung Lao or some shit, right? That would have been it. Like, Sub-Zero is just the main dude. Have them face off at the pit, and they go into a real battle. Make that shit like 4 minutes of just nothing but fucking raid style action, and then you in the background, like you see the moon in the back. Make the shit look ill and dark. You see something like a figure or something pass by the moon, because in the game you had to have something pass by the moon, and you had to get 2 perfects and not use block and perform a fatality in order to unlock Reptile. So you seeing something just pass by the moon, not able to make it like a shadow or something, that's what they're aiming at, right? And then have fucking Sub-Zero busting Kung Lao's ass, and he freezes him and just backs up into the portal and leaves him there. And he's just frozen looking into it. And then you start seeing the snow melting because there's acid. And when he turns around and is breaking out the ice, you see Reptile just waiting for him. And it's just he just goes at him. Like there's
that's
you could have done this shit way better. I would have had that theater bumping. Yeah. I say that with confidence. I don't give a fuck.
It's true, because like you didn't know who the fuck, because you at first, when I first saw the movie Mortal Kombat, and I remember vividly that I was mad disappointed in what was supposed to be Reptile. Like, that's not Reptile. What the fuck is that? They have you confused. You don't know what the fuck that little thing is or whatever. And so when he gets sucked into the belly of that statue, and Reptile, it's like, like, that shit blows your fucking mind. Yeah. Like that was the best scene. I'm telling you, like, you're right. Like they could have easily set it up. You want to do a callback? They could have done, like you said, do that. Like have a fight end up. Yeah.
That's the battle that needed to be redone just to keep the homage, and it would have been viral. People would have been going crazy over that, because they try to do that in the scene where they're in the trailer and you see acid burning through something and they don't know what did that. I would have done the same shit, but what I said, had Kung Lao and fucking this dude fighting, and then Sub-Zero just freezes him and he's like, fuck this, he's beneath me, I'm gonna leave him for this dude. He just backs up through a portal, and leaves him there while he's just like frozen trying to break out. And then you hear like a hissing, and he looks down and you see the acid like eating away at the ice. And then when he finally breaks out, he turns around and his reptile just there, like he's invisible, and then he just goes into formation and just runs at him and they start fighting. Like that shit right there would have been dope. Make it that they fall down to the pit, they barely miss the spikes and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
they could have used that same song too if they wanted to. like really recreated that moment.
That was well, what's that fucking I can't remember the artist. Sorry. It's Tracy Lords. There you go. Yeah, that song would have been the shit. Like you reuse that song, give us the same like that. I'm just, I'm somebody who cares about that shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a way you give me $55 million, I'm gonna do better than that shit. My movie would have had no special effects. It would have just been the most practical shit.
I was just thinking they had more practical effects. They could have cut back on some, special effects they had.
Yeah, all my special effects would have gone to like Sub-Zero's ice shit. His shit looked beautiful.
Yeah,
every time Sub-Zero was on screen doing some ice shit, that shit looked dope. Like him just breaking that gun and busting Jax's ass, that was fun to watch. Him busting his arms off and then pushing him, and he fell on that thing, and like they made you feel like Sub-Zero was here to cause problems, and that's what you should feel, because I remember that's one of the first characters I ever saw in Mortal Kombat, and I was like, yo, this dude ripped this dude's head off. Like, that's evil.
Yeah, he had the worst fatality in the whole game. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, like, so they could have done a lot better, and, I want to see a second movie do well, but I feel like they've done this requires a complete retelling. Like, they should just forget this shit happened.
I'm going to say, they're going to have to redo it, because, like, they need to get rid of pretty much part 2, get rid of all the CGI, go back to practical effects, and we need some set pieces. Like, this movie has 0 set pieces. Like,
that's true.
Mortal Kombat, the whole game, the third character, it's you fighting someone, and then you have the stage, which is the third character. It's moving, it's changing, you're going to different levels. This movie had that. It felt very like compartmentalized and like separated. Like everything was a tiny room where things were happening.
Because it was all filmed on a shitty soundstage,
Yeah, like even outside when he was attacking the house, it felt like they were on a soundstage. Like it was a tiny little farmhouse with a car like perfectly angled to kind of like box it. And I'm like, this shit just feels.
Didn't they actually like travel for the original movie, for '95 movie?
Yeah,
like, they did. They went to Bangkok.
Place, yeah,
like they actually filmed on site. I remember that because I remember it like watching all the little like behind the scenes shit and like how they actually
feel like I'm somewhere like
this movie. One of the main places they went was Sydney, Australia, or somewhere in Australia, and they actually found their forest that was gonna be like ancient Japan. That's Australia that they're in. But that's why the movie feels so different. That's the one part of the movie that's not filmed on the stage. It's actually a forest. You know what I mean? Yeah. Same thing with the parts where they're in the city, just fucking Sub-Zero's just wrecking shit. Like, I actually like that part where he's like, "Hey, Julie, come here. Look at this. It's snowing." Like that. Him just saying that made me feel like he's really doesn't know shit. Like he was genuinely confused. Like, "Yo, come look at this. It's snowing." And then she looks at him through the window. She's like, "What's going on?" And then you see the shit start going in reverse, and then everything starts icing up, and everybody's like, "What the fuck?" I like that. I like that he was willing to kill the whole block just to get to this one man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that. I just confused as to how, like, they could have. One thing a movie never did, either one of these movies, and I'll leave it there, is if you're gonna touch on the lore or keep it, like the games, they needed to do some shit where like Shang Tsung had control over somebody's, like, due to him being able to control people's souls and him being a sorcerer, he casts a spell and makes people like have like a Spider-Man Far From Home scene where like Spider-Man's fighting Mysterio and how everything looks fucked up and crazy. Have something similar to that where it's a mirror match where he makes them fight themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be dope. That would be a cool way to explain the mirror matches in the game.
Mirror matches.
They did an endurance match, which was 2-on-1, which was cool.
There's so much they can do. They just gotta figure it out. They gotta
back to square one, guys. I'm sorry. I wanted it to be great.
I think so.
The shit was a 5 out of 10 at most. Great costume design. I saw the nods, but you did not have to add all that bullshit. I don't want to see Jax growing arms fucking ever.
Yeah, I think we all like the median range of all our scores are about 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Or 2.5 out of 5. So
exactly, mediocre.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
all right, but that was definitely a good talk, you know. But guess yeah, we definitely gotta wrap it up here. Was there anything? The last points?
Oh, let me direct a future Mortal Kombat, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was good having Mario on. We'll have him on again in the future. We have a few topics that we want to have you on for, but this just seemed appropriate. Me and Mario grew up on Mortal Kombat together. He had it on Sega Genesis.
Burger Plus. I was 5 years old.
Yeah, we were playing at our local
Putting
Burger
my quarter
Plus
on that screen, Papa. What's up next?
Yeah.
You have a podcast, right, Mario?
Oh yeah. It's called The Life Plot. It's on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. And I do just like Jose's been on an episode where we talk about our old band Fatality.
I heard that one. That was a real.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was really in depth. But yeah, I got like I'm getting a couple authors on soon, doing some cool talk. So check it out.
Nice.
Awesome.
You're gonna have me on
when you want to come through.
Don't have them on there.
I'll have my people call your
people. We're gonna have
people.
some smart, profound talks though. We're gonna get deep, bro.
I love it. I love it.
All right, no, for sure.
Well,
awesome.
All right, I want to thank everybody again for listening to the VGXL episode 23. I appreciate everyone giving me feedback, and I've been on Twitter.
Later, guys.